So today we're going to answer your questions. Everything from do we still own the boat to how do we work from the boat, how much does the boat cost, what kind of fuel economy does it have, how do we do internet, all those things.
Since I left, you stood the test of time like a leader. It got too far and I will always linger. You went away to feel the wind getting thinner.
All right, first question of the day is from Rick Hodges, Mark Burke, and John Bremen. Do we still have the boat? Yes, we do. What type of boat it is, how big is it, build quality, all that stuff. So this is a 1988 Gulfstar 44 motor yacht. Overall for us, build quality has been amazing. Really solid boat, solid fiberglass hull. It's got twin Caterpillar 3208 TA turbocharged and aftercooled diesels that are 375 horsepower each, which is insane. Really big engines. We idle them most of the time. It's got 400 gallons of diesel, 200 gallons of fresh water, and a 30-gallon holding tank. Has an 18-foot air draft, so that's the height from the water line to the top of the boat. That allows us to sneak under most bridges, which is really nice. And then it only draws in the water from the water line down to the bottom of the boat 3.5 feet. So that's really good too. So we don't really have to worry too much about shallow water running around, things like that. But yeah, overall, been loving the boat. I mean, like having this deck here, just be able to sit out here is awesome. Next question is from Martin Povetta, Lee Riggs, and John W. Smith Jr. What was your fuel burn rate, dock cost, all that stuff? All right, so I gotta definitely get into my app here to see. So our first trip, we bought the boat in 2020. We brought it down from New York to Florida, and that was about 1,235 statute miles, and it was 1,233 gallons. So it's almost exactly 1 statute mile per gallon is what we did. The highest that we saw was about 2 miles per gallon when we were going 7 knots. The lowest that we saw was about 0.44 miles per gallon when we're going between 12 and 15 knots. It all just kind of depends on how fast we're going. And then fuel prices have changed wildly throughout this time. When we first started in the pandemic, or diesel I should say, was $2 a gallon. And then the most expensive in Florida that we paid last year was a little over $3. We actually also spent $4 a gallon, or almost $5 a gallon in the Bahamas. I have not made a video on that yet. We did do that, so that was pretty cool. And then now, I mean, with the whole Russian invasion of Ukraine and all that stuff, I mean, it's looking like it's over $5 a gallon now. But overall, last year we spent about $3,400 on fuel to get from New York to Florida, which ended up being for the year about $280 a month in fuel. Now that we've been in Florida, we've been just kind of cruising around Florida, so we don't use as much fuel because the distances are shorter. We're not going as far, so that's cool. Next cost is dock costs. So that's definitely a big expense for us, for sure, and it varies wildly. What we found though is, being in a marina, it is significantly cheaper if you can do it for a monthly rate. So we try to stay most places for a month at least. Once you go to about a week and a month is about the same price. So it's better just to stay longer, which is nice. You get to experience the place more, so that's really cool. The cheapest marina that we've had for our boat, and it's done by the foot, our boat is 44 feet long, or about 46 feet if you include the platform and the pulpit and all that stuff. That was about $500 a month at York River Yacht Haven in Yorktown, Virginia. We also had similar thing in Beaufort, or is it Beaufort, North Carolina, up by the Outer Banks. That was about $500 a month too at Homersmith. That was a really cool place to go. The most expensive that we've paid is Isla Morada down in the Florida Keys, and that was about $1,200 a month. So that was getting pretty pricey. We splurged to go down there because it's like you only live once kind of thing. Let's try that out. And then also Port Canaveral, which is kind of in between. This is around $900 a month for us, so it's not cheap. I mean, it's a lot of money for the marinas for sure. So you can certainly anchor out and not spend any of that money. That's a much cheaper way to go. But that's definitely one of the most expensive costs that we have is the marina fees. The other big cost that we have is insurance. People were asking about that. We have State Farm insurance. That's the same one that we have through our cars and stuff like that. For this boat to be insured to be able to stay in Florida for hurricane season, we're paying about $3,000 a year. One thing you gotta be careful about with boats too is if it's your first time boat like this was for us, they have a limit for how big of a boat they'll let you get on your first insurance. I think it was like 45 feet or 50 feet, something like that. So we kind of snuck in under that with this boat, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, let's move, because I think that this will be cooler if we're on the water. So let's do that. Now on the dinghy, on the back of the boat, we got a cruise ship that came in this morning. I'm hoping you guys will get lucky and we'll see a dolphin come through here. They like to roll through. All right, next question. So this was from the commenter, greatest inspirational videography. How long did the trip take and were there any rough waters? So according to my engine log, so it took us 161 hours going anywhere between 7 and 15 knots. The total trip time from New York down to Florida was 22 days. We stayed inside in the ICW most of the time, unless it was really calm. We did hop out in the Carolinas a couple times, which was really nice, really pretty. As far as bad weather, we didn't really have much bad weather. We did, on the trip down, we were following some of our friends, Beverly S, on their Nordhaven, which is the same type boat I lived on for a couple years as a kid, which is amazing. They recommended that we go into a marina. We ducked into Brunswick, Georgia, because there was some like 30-knot winds coming through and it was really cold. So we kind of heeded their advice and went in there for a week, which I always hate doing because you might as well stay for a month if you're gonna stay for a week, but we did that anyway to avoid the weather. Their kind of thoughts were anything above 25 knots predicted wind, they would typically duck into a marina if they could. Just so it's more comfortable than having to worry about your anchor dragging and things like that. So we typically try to follow that advice, and that's worked well for us. But other than that, no, the weather was pretty good. It was a little bumpy as we crossed through that passage by Cumberland Island. We were rocking and rolling a little bit when I was trying to work down below. But other than that, the ICW is pretty calm most of the time, so it's not too bad. We had one rough night at anchor that was like one of our first nights, but I think looking back now, compared to what we've seen now, you know, probably gusted like 15 or 20 at night, and we was a fairly open anchorage, so we were bouncing a bit. But overall it was fine, and we have really good confidence in our anchor now. We really like that, so that's good. How did you navigate? How did you know where to stop? Also, the green man was, did you go to Barnegat Bay? So I guess one thing I should probably start with, when we bought this boat, I didn't have a lot of experience driving a big boat, so we bought it in New York, and I paid for a delivery captain to help teach me what I was doing to get from New York, go through first part of the trip. You know, we had to go through the East River, and he got me to the Chesapeake. Learned a ton from him. I would highly recommend that if you can afford it. It was not cheap. I think it ended up being a couple $1,000s to pay for him. And plus, we went fast with the boat with fuel because I was paying him per day, but definitely worth it. It was invaluable. I highly recommend that. And then as far as navigating goes, we learned a lot from Beverly S and just from other boaters. We use two apps. One of them is Navionics, the other one is Aquamaps. Aquamaps is really cool because you can load into it the Coast Guard sonar surveys, so you can see really accurate depth readings and sonar pictures of the ICW. We also use Bob423's tracks. So this guy goes up and down the East Coast on the ICW every year, and he loads his tracks online. So you can just pull up the track and load it into your GPS or your iPad or your iPhone, and then just follow the track he did. He doesn't run aground, so if you just kind of follow his line, you're good to go. So that makes things way better. Very easy to do. We also are on some Facebook groups. I can't remember, there's like an ICW Facebook group. There's a Facebook group for Bob423 as well. So people are always commenting on like bridge status or closures, things like that. So those Facebook groups are super helpful. There's a lot of resources out there. I'll link some of that stuff in the description so you can pull that stuff up. One thing that definitely helped us as well was following another boat, buddy boating. So if you can find somebody that has experience that you can follow and to get you from point A to point B, that helps tremendously. So we had that with Beverly S. They were amazing. Hopefully, you know, if you go to a marina, like there's so many people that are so nice around here and a lot of them are going kind of the same general direction that you are. You can kind of befriend some people and maybe find some friends that can help you along the way like we did, and that worked out really good. Next question is from Mr. Steve Bugg, looking to do the same thing in 4 to 5 years and wanted to hear about the good and the bad. How long do you stay at marinas? And WDE, which is War Damn Eagle, for those of you guys that don't know. which as soon as I get done this, I'll be watching the Auburn basketball game today, so I'm excited to see that. Thanks for the comment, Steve. Our split is we try to stay at a marina for a month at a time, just because the cost is significantly cheaper. As far as anchoring goes, we typically only anchor when we're moving the boat, and the way it's worked for me with working is we typically only move the boat when I'm on vacation. We move the boat some when I'm not on vacation, but it's definitely much more difficult to do. I have to be in meetings, I gotta be on call, and things like that, and just the timing is just not super conducive to be moving the boat while I'm working. It's better to either be anchored or to be in a marina for that. As far as the good goes, for us, downsizing onto the boat was amazing. Just having less stuff, being more connected with nature. I mean, just coming out in the morning like this, and even just in a marina is amazing. Just being on the water, I absolutely love that. We were eating healthier when we were on the boat, we found. I mean, we just had less stuff. We were cooking more. That was also really good. Just more sun, more outside time was great. The people in the boating community are incredible. I mean, you gotta think most of these people that are on boats or in marinas, they're fun. This is what they wanted to do. This is what they wanted to retire to. This is what they're excited about. So the overall atmosphere here is awesome. Everyone's super friendly. They're super helpful, and they're all kind of in this, boat together, right? So it's like they all have similar issues. Even if you have a free sailboat that you got donated versus $1 million boat, you've got very similar systems. They all break. They all have issues, and they all kind of come together and help, and it's a really cool atmosphere. I mean, but it is definitely a strange thing. Like, at least in my life, when we were living in our house and working, I was typically around similar people. Here, the boating community, the similarity is the boat. Everything else is different. I mean, you can have, like I said, people in a $10,000 sailboat sitting right next to a $5 million boat, and they come from totally different backgrounds, but they have a similar interest in boating and in the water. And then they can connect and have conversations and hang out, and it's a really cool thing. I really like that, and I don't think that exists, or at least I haven't seen that in my lifetime outside of in boating. So that's pretty cool. I'll say the bad for us so far has been weather. Weather complicates everything. So, I may try to schedule time off so that we can move the boat from point A to point B, and the weather says that's not going to happen. That makes things tough, especially because the other bad thing has been marinas. Since the pandemic started, these marinas have been pretty full almost everywhere, and so scheduling, if we wanted to move the boat to a different place, trying to find a marina that was open was challenging. And then on top of that, trying to have a weather window to move the boat, and then also being able to take time off, like managing those three things is difficult. It's totally worth it, but it's challenging. This is unfortunately the part of boating that is less fun. Down the engine room, because this little guy, that's the pump that takes the poop into the holding tank, is broken. So I have to take it apart. There's poop in the line. The poop has to come out somehow.
Many hours later.
All right, so the next question is from John James. Thanks, John. What do you do for internet? Also, Jessica Drakely is about to go from Florida to Boston April 1st and was wondering if we could use internet to work while underway. Thanks, guys, for the questions. For internet, we use a combination of things. I have a AT&T cell phone with hotspot on it. That's my work phone, and I can use that to tether to my computer. That works fine most of the time. And then as a backup, I have a T-Mobile hotspot. That is $50 a month for 100 gigs. And between those two things, that's been overall really good. We also use marina Wi-Fi if it's available. So really that's kind of three different ways that we have internet if we're at a marina. We found that the AT&T is not as reliable as T-Mobile a lot of times. T-Mobile, I don't know if it's just because there's less people on the network, but it's been really good. For me, what I have to do is I have a laptop that I remote desktop into a computer at the home office. And when I'm doing remote desktop, I'm typically doing about 1 gigabyte of data usage a day for a full day's worth of work. Because remote desktop is just sharing pictures and images, and it's not that intensive from an internet standpoint. So the 100 gigs is totally fine for that. We do have a neighbor here that has Starlink from SpaceX, and they have it on their boat. Right now, it doesn't look like you can actually move with Starlink. They don't let you to quote roam, but whenever that's available, I will definitely be getting that, because he said it's lightning fast, and if you could move around, then with Starlink, you could potentially go anywhere, which would be really cool. Jessica, as far as working, all the way up the East Coast, we definitely had good internet the whole way up from Florida to New York. I can't think of any times where we really didn't have internet. You could certainly work underway, I think, for the most part. Some of the areas up some of those rivers in like Georgia and the Carolinas may be a little bit sparse. I don't remember not having signal though, honestly. But I didn't work too much underway just because we typically took vacation off when we were moving the boat. On the ICW, even though you're not going fast and a lot of it's relaxing, there are definitely spurts where it's not relaxing. There's traffic and things like that. You're having to worry about tides and currents and shallow water areas and bridges and locks, and it's not the same. If you just go outside and you could hug the shore a few miles offshore and it's calm and hit autopilot, like that'd be a lot easier to work while we're underway. For me, that I ended up taking time off, so I don't have a lot of experience with that, unfortunately. And as far as people ask like what my job is, I'm an aerospace engineer. Obviously, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to work remote. When the pandemic started, they sent us all home, and that's what enabled me to be able to do this. And super grateful for my job and for my management for letting me continue to do this. I still have to go back to the home office some when we're doing engine tests, but for the most part, I've been able to do most of my job remote from my computer, which has been great. Obviously, if you're doing that, highly recommend getting a second monitor or third. That helps me a lot. I can't work with just one monitor, but otherwise it's been really good. Uncle Rick has asked if we still have our lazy days. Unfortunately, this is a motorhome that we have. I have some videos on our channel about that. We absolutely loved our lazy days, a little Class C motorhome. Unfortunately, we sold it last year with the boat, and we just really didn't have the time or the money really to continue to use it. A lot of what we used that for living on the East Coast was getting to the coast, getting to the water and exploring the water. And when we have the boat, we didn't need that as much, but we definitely miss it a lot. I mean, traveling in that thing was incredible. It's the best way to get around. They weren't so expensive and gas wasn't so expensive, and we could store it at a marina, I would consider it. But what made it complicated with having the boat is when we come to a lot of these marinas, they don't have storage for RVs. And so we have to find another place to store it. That's just one more thing to deal with. I'd love to have a Class B RV, but they're pretty expensive too. So unfortunately, we don't have either right now, but that's just the way it goes. And then I got a crap ton of comments on my video about the music being terrible, turn the music off, all that stuff. So I appreciate all the feedback, guys. I did want to at least explain a little bit for where it came from. I mean, first of all, picking music for these songs is really difficult. And also just getting motivated to make and edit a video, it takes a lot of time, for me at least. I'm not that good at it. And we were watching some YouTube video right before Christmas holidays, and someone used that song that I played for that last video for one of their like travel videos. I don't know, it just kind of inspired me to like, all right, I gotta make a video. And it was about to be Christmas, and I wanted to be able to share our travels with my family. And so that video kind of kicked me off into motivating me to make the video in the first place. So that's why I used it. And then it's just me being lazy, honestly, for using it through the whole video, and not spending time to try to find a new video, a new song to then transition. And yeah, that's just so sorry about that, guys, but that's just the way it goes. But yeah, overall, I mean, working from the boat has been great. It can be a little challenging. You're still in a small space, so like a lot of times I'm working in the forward cabin, like kind of tucked in the corner. I still like to separate work from other stuff, so I like to have like a quote dedicated office. It just, it's a little tighter than it would be at home probably, or in a house. But just being able to come out here is awesome. There's a lot of boat work involved. I feel like I'm always cleaning or varnishing.
Applying the varnish here and moving the varnish, or apply the varnish now.
Or waxing or repairing something. But it's super rewarding work, I mean, you're out here and there's community with other people. I think it's totally worth it. If you're thinking about doing it and you have any way to do it, definitely do it. I mean, it's something that we don't regret at all. It's brought us closer together. Kimberly doesn't like being in these videos, so sorry she's not here, but it's definitely something that we don't regret, and it's an experience that we'll always have, that we can share with friends and family, and it's been really awesome. So anyway, so I think that's it. Keep the questions coming. I really appreciate it, guys. I will hopefully be putting together another video about our trip to the Bahamas last year. Yeah, it's 2022 now, crazy. And that was a lot of fun, and some of our time in the Keys, and it's just a matter of having the time to do that. But anyway, I appreciate y'all bearing with me, and thanks for all the guys that have, all the new guys and girls that have subscribed to the channel. And I will talk to you guys later. See ya. Let's try not to drop the iPad in the water. God. Oh boy. There's a Facebook book. There's a
Because my drone decided it didn't want to land back on the boat.
Okay, where's the drone? I'm drawing a blank here. What's my app called? What is my app?